can't have teams, or you can't have players in your team that are just going to play for top 4s, and that's it. You need someone that can have a spot where you get some crazy econ augments early on, some crazy leveling, and you push levels, as you said, like Bensec loves to do.
And for Flash Wolves, Kebaba has been one of the star players in this tournament, but historically, Ironbog is that superstar player on this team. He's a player who's won back-to-back APAC regional championships in recent sets, which is one of the hardest things to do because APAC is considered to be one of the most competitive regions with massive player bases in countries like Vietnam, in countries like Thailand, for example, and just all of the APAC countries as a whole. But we're moving now into game number 1 of series number 3, elimination matchup between Fnatic from EMEA and Flash Wolves from APAC. Star-studded rosters across the board. And hopefully we're going to see a spicy meta. We know what the obvious things will be with Gangplank and a few of the obvious fast 8 comps, but we're starting to see a few conditional comps come through and really shine. Kaisa reroll, perfect form Zac. We're seeing the crew pop off sometimes as well. So this is, I mentioned it before and I'll mention it again, I think it's one of the keys. Having one player who can find a conditional X-Factor comp and overperform on this comp to potentially swing the tide of the matchup as a whole in his team's favor.
Yeah, I think the variation is so important. As you mentioned, I think that's kind of like the meta shift that we've seen happen from day 1 to day 2. In day 1, it was all about the Sorks, all about the Prodigies, but players and teams are starting to realize that we need to find something else outside of this that can try and beat the Gangplanks, that can even try and beat the Sorcerers as well. And I think that it all comes down to, you know, picking something like Protagonist, taking a big risk, taking something that can put you in a position that you don't normally see. You know, we saw in the last series as well with Ningli going for a very unique Samira board with Volibear. Didn't really work out too well in the end, but I think they're the spots that they need to try and look for.
Yeah, Bintum as well. I mean, overall, it's one of the hardest lines to get into, the flex AD lines, but if it works out, it's definitely a path that you can go down. For Ironbog now playing around the less habitual frontline for stage 2 with the Protectors, but does have the cannon upgrade and the early Nico. Going to sacrifice buying the Syndra and the Juggernaut there to do so. Look at the options here. Knuckle Duster is one of those conditional comps that you can play and find great success with. You completely ignore, nope, going to go for Mogul's Mill instead, I assume, here with the upgraded cannon. I personally, speaking from bias, my last 2 games on ladder have been Knuckle Dusters. It was a 3rd and a 1st, so I am very high on this offense right now. It's kind of like playing GP reroll, but with Vi instead, because you do farm loot and you do snowball a lot. But it looks like Ironbog there opting to not go for it all.
I think you mentioned in the end as well, I think when you go for the Shimmer, you can stack so much gold with Kennen 2-star early on, which I think could be really, really huge to try and get the economy early on, try and push levels. But I completely agree. I think Knuckle Dusters is one of them comps that can be unique, that we've been talking about before this game started. You know, if they can get into a position where Vi can become somewhat like GP, you build it very similar as well with a lot of damage.
Ooh, Bensac is on Hard Bargain. I believe that's the icon, one of the new augments in this set, which doesn't allow you to pick anything on the carousel. It kind of gives you the last option, but you do get gold and you do heal, so it's very good with Crystal Gambit. Curious to see from what spots Bensac is picking it in this game, because generally not considered to be a strong augment unless you have the god spot for Crystal Gambit.
In treasure hunt here for Haruru, being able to pick up the early Kraken as well, maybe going into the Gangplank.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Are you trying to confuse our viewers? He is certainly going into Gangplank reroll.
I mean, 2 Destinies as well. We're seeing 2 Destinies being picked up as well. One was Preparation, the other, I can't remember exactly what it was, but Preparation, not really an augment that we actually see too much. Of course, with Destiny, you get a completely random gold augment. We've seen it backfire. We've also seen it to help people as well. A lot of people take the augment just really for the amount of gold that you're able to get with the augment. But Preparation normally allows you to maybe play towards reroll lines, but with Gangplank, being potentially off the board for that team, we'll have to see what other reroll lines could be up for grabs.
Okay, Kebaba went for the Thornmail, so really trying to get a Mega Tank online. Does buy the Ezreal in the end. This is one of the, I would say, most awkward positions to be in stage 2, where you have a backline that doesn't really pair with the frontline you're playing for. With Ezreal, you want Bastion, for example, to play for Battle Academia, for example, with Garen and Rel. And then you end up not making 10 on 2-2 or sometimes on 2-3, and it makes things very awkward if you're holding too much. So Kebaba in a bit of an awkward position here, playing around this Udyr Mega Tank, which I think he wishes was a Mundo, as weird as that is, considering it's a 2-cost instead of a 3-cost.
I mean, you can see the Mundo on the other side, but I mean, it's a bit of a big difference with Mundo being 2-star. But I think we've seen throughout the tournament that Hey, Mundo could maybe be as strong as the Gangplank in the end and just tanking up so much damage. We've even seen some unique builds as well with like Talisman as well, with Radiant items. I think overall, we saw in the last series as well with Wet Jungler, if you can find that Mundo 2-star early on, it's such a huge front line for your team. You have the Luchador in as well to help you out with jump in, and it kind of works as like an Edge of Night in a way. And then your backline, you don't really need to upgrade too much because Mundo just tanks so much damage.
Mundo is kind of one of these units that really ties together so many AD comps, because if you are playing for Mundo, a 2-star Mundo is just not as good as a 3-star obviously, but it's not that much worse basically to just fast 8, fast 9 with, which is a hard thing to do with just a 2-cost tank, for example. If you hit Mundo 3 early and you're very far behind on copies of Kai'Sa or Jhin or Gnar, you can always just play for tempo, and the Mundo buys you enough time and stability to play for Ashe as a backline carry, to play for a Luchador combo we saw Bintum playing for, with just that 2-star upgrade in some cases. So without Mundo, AD Flex would, I would say, almost be dead on the current meta in the current patch, but thanks to Mundo, he enables a lot of comps as playable that can compete with Yuumi, with Karma, and with all the other reroll lines as well.
I think we've seen that flexibility throughout the tournament as well. I think like Kai'Sa, for example, was really a unit and a composition that we wasn't really expecting to see in the tournament. We expect to see a lot more Jhin, but overall it has been, you know, Kai'Sa coming out as well. The other Destiny was, I believe, Blood Rage. I believe that's one of the new augments as well, which gives you a little bit of extra healing.
Yep. If you fall below a certain HP threshold, you get damage amp essentially.
Not seeing a lot of Gangplanks though, be honest.
Not yet.
Not yet. There's always a chance. Actually, it might be 0. Am I crazy?
No. Haruru is definitely playing into Gangplank.
No, I mean like on the boards at the moment.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not up to the players. If it's up to the players, there would be
everyone would play Gangplank
for everyone.
if they had a choice.
Not up to them just yet. We're seeing the strong AD opener here from Armor Truck with Slammin as well. So this is most likely obviously not going to be reroll, because you're losing the value from Slammin once you make it past level 6. It can be because you're kind of slow rolling on 6 and you want to keep pushing levels anyway, but most likely this could potentially become one of the newer comps in the meta, the Frost Touch TF Fast 9 comp. You're playing off of upgraded Gnar, you're playing off of Mundo frontline, you have an Econ Augment in Slammin as well to continue bumping levels. If you can finalize a Spirit Visage, which we're seeing here, as well as have enough damage, which is one of the big problems Mundo has. He can tank for infinity time, but his backline just dies and can't kill fast enough. Gnar with Rageblade can scale fast enough to actually do something. And with this, you can just push levels and end up making it to level 8, sometimes just level 9.
I have to see what decision is here for Armor Track and for Fnatic in general, to see if they can actually keep pushing levels and keep winning rounds. But unfortunately for Armor Track, he will be losing this streak just before the neutral round, so he's one that's going to lose it. Not too sure if Clemu might be keeping his streak. He does keep his 100 streak going at the moment, and Haruru on the other side on a 4 loss streak. So also playing Gnar as well. I think Gnar just as a unit is just very powerful early on, especially when comboed with Rageblade.
My laddering experience changed a lot once I was open to the strength of Gnar as a 2-star on stage 2 and stage 3. It made things a lot easier when going into some lines, and I think Clemu and Armor Truck have both identified this. They're not contesting each other, they're not re-rolling Gnar, so it's okay, they're playing the same backline carry. They're going to use this Gnar as just a very consistent damage dealer, especially when paired with the best, 1 or 2 cost tank in the game in Mundo.
Even at the Gnar as well with the Kahuna.
Yep. Some very Shadow as well, very strong with the extra Luchador proc, for example. So just a lot of really great interactions to find consistent results in stage 2 and 3.
Having that Kabuko on the front line as well, of course, doesn't have the full mentor, which we might see a little bit later on in this game with how much crowd control the Kabuko can bring, but it can be a strong front line. But you're seeing that Mundo 2-star can be stronger than Mundo 1-star, but when you don't have the backline to do damage as well, actually slams the Edge of Night. Actually wants to try and guarantee the win,
perfect
and
loss for Clemu, or perfect win rather for Clemu, perfect loss for Yoroi. So really, I think good min-maxing from these teams. You can tell they're focused, you can tell they're trying to find any small edge they can in terms of preserving HP for one player and still continue the win streak for the other.
And I think with Clemu standing in the Edge of Night in the end as well, he does have preparation, so he can actually try and go for Gangplank later on as well. He can be the one that's contesting Haruru in this game. Has the Edge of Night, has the Rageblade, which is 2 of Gangplank's best items. Already had the Kabuko 2, as I mentioned as well. So we might be seeing a lot of aggressive roles in 3-2, and there's something I want to talk about as well. I think the teams that have been winning these games in these series so far have been the ones that have been more aggressive on their role downs, have been rolling down a lot, trying to stabilize their boards early on and saving enough HP, because we've seen so many team kills already in this tournament with just losing so much HP early on.
You have to. If most of your team is playing for this kind of Karma, Yumi, fast 8, and roll down with 30 HP game plan, your spot is doomed. Because the moment you miss, the game is already over. Players in a game like this, where there's 4 players and they can really mitigate RNG, they really want to try and control that variance as much as possible. They don't want to go into these huge roll down gambles where the game is instantly over if something goes wrong. And this is where you have to preserve HP in stage 3. You have to play for massive roll downs on 3-2, on level 6, and to try and, for the most part, bully those fast 8 players from the opposing team especially.
That's exactly what Haru is going to do after this. You know, in 3-2, he has the treasure hunt as well to be able to get the extra bit of loot, extra bit of power as well. But it seems like 2 Flash Falls members have both gameplay,
Oh no, it's Haru. We just flipped the...
Oh, we just flipped the... Oh, okay, I was a bit confused there for a second. But yeah, in general, you know, you're going to be seeing the roll down with the treasure hunt, trying to get the extra loot as well. We've been seeing treasure hunt being one of the more popular augments, I think, in this set, one of the new ones as well. Just with how much value you can get when you're rolling at every single stage, and with how important reroll comps are in this meta, why it's so powerful right now.
Tamu here yet again, having another win. So a 6-win streak now. Oh, no, this is Armor Trick, sorry.
Too many Nars. Yeah, too many Nars. I think
maybe
everyone...
Maybe Fnatic over-indexed too much on Nar. He's great, but maybe not 3 players.
You did say it's great, so...
Will be Prismatics, a lot of very warping options here for the Giga carries. Radiant Refractor for a Gangplank, for example, for a Mundo can be so impactful. We saw it in the last game, or last series with what junglers set up with the Talisman and the Radiant Spirit Visage. We're seeing here the Refractor for Haruru. Best option will be, I believe, stat-wise, the Radiant Kraken's Fury, with Rageblade being second best.
No Gangplanks on the roll down on the right-hand side for Haruru, which is really bad. Of course, he is rolling for that treasure hunt as well, so he is going to get that bit of a cash out, but not even finding a pair of Gangplanks is really rough. He's going to get a little bit of something, just a component anvil for now. That roll down is really, really rough. Of course, as you mentioned, the Radiant item going to help out this Gangplank a little bit more.
Will be Rageblade in the end.
Yeah, but not find anything on the roll down, just the Karma to sort things out though. He can't really pivot from this point as well, so he's rolled down to like 20 gold. He doesn't find a GP2, not even a pair. He found a Karma, but he's already slammed AD items, so it's a really tough spot.
And a very unique spot from YYDM. He has it on level 6, so he's not playing the crew. He is carrying a Sivir for now. He has a mix of attack caster items as well as just full, double Deathplate items as well. Curious if he's playing for Edgelords with the Blood Rage, especially with Volibear. Volibear does want to have bursty kind of IE Guardbreaker Edge of Night setup. Double Deathblade is fine if you split it between Samira and the Volibear. And it's all about burst, that comp, right? You're trying to really... The Rage is a bit of an awkward part, is the only thing on the Callisto right now. So we'll see where that ends up going for YYDM. He's on a 6-loss streak. So he's a player who, if you're playing Edgelord from behind, it's a little bit more dicey because this is not the S-tier metacomp that wins everything in stage 4 and 5.
No, exactly that. I mean, if we look at the HP totals as well, I spoke about how you want to save HP in the early game. Everyone on Flash Falls right now are in the bottom 4 in terms of early HP. We see Clemu as well. He's the one that hit the GP2. He has the preparation on the bench as well, which is going to give these units more stats. Also went for the Radiant Refractor as well, as Haru finally hits the GP2, but has 0 gold. So that's really rough.
It feels very rough, but it is always worth it in my opinion because Gangplank farms gold. So every gold he farms is essentially as if you're 1 interest higher. So if you're farming 1 extra gold because he's upgraded and he's either winning fights or killing more units because of it and farming gold in that sense, it's as if you were staying above 10, above 20, above 30 gold anyway. Okay. So like we're seeing here, this is a fight win that's off of that upgrade. You're getting more gold, you're making 10 still here, and you get the preservation of HP, which is even more important in 4v4. So always worth it with Gangplank in 4v4 to roll very heavily, in my opinion.
Another reason why players are playing so aggressive as well, because you can farm so much gold with Gangplank, especially stabilized on 2-star. We thought that maybe coming into this meta that players might be able to stabilize on 1-star, but it hasn't really been the case. You really need that GP2 to help you out. And it seems like there's a lot of Radiant items across the board. We see Pandora's box as well, which is going to give you Radiant items. Bensak going for Buried Treasures just to give them more items overall. 3 Radiant Refractors actually. So a lot of Radiant items that are going to give these, the carries a lot more power.
There is a pan here. It's going to be going to Ironbog in the end, who is playing around Swords, it looks like. Does have Pandora's. Can swap this to a Spatula if he needs to. Curious if he decides to pivot his game plan off of this pan pickup. And he is one of the players that I would say is one of the most creative TFT players in the world in terms of playing for Fast 8 and rolling down and playing for anything that he hits, kind of like Dintum, for example. I think they're quite comparable. So we'll see what Ironbog does with this free element he's been given on the carousel now.
Could be Strategist. I think Strategist is one of the more popular spatulas, potentially.
In his line, yes, but I think he's a player good enough to pivot off of his line if he can to extract more value from getting this free pan. Because there are, of course, just stronger setups overall that you can get other than a Strategist +1 for Sorks.
How much not going for the reroll? It might be the Ashe composition that you was mentioning before as well. You know, Radiant Rageblade online. Normally you see these on a GP, but they're on a Gnar instead with the Infinity Edge. But still only has that Dr. Mundo 1, but has gone to level 7 already. So very aggressive in terms of leveling. Of course, has the slam in as well, so he was able to get more XP over time. Interesting to see what composition this goes into. Like you said, it might be the Volley Bear as well. Could be a potential with the Luchadors. We don't really see this pushing levels in terms of AD compositions. We normally see it with the GP, but with the Gnar, it's still doing pretty well and he's still sitting at the top.
I think right now Fnatic has one player playing GP reroll, one player playing Jhin, Gnar, Mundo reroll, and one player using Mundo, Gnar as a tempo option to go Fast 8, Fast 9 into either Ashe or TF and Ashe on level 9. I really like the game plan. I think this would be one of my solutions to the format right now in the current meta. I'm very curious to see if it works out, because in theory it sounds good to me. You preserve so much HP off of Gnar Mundo combo in stage 3 and stage 4. We'll see if their cap, especially for the Fast 8, Fast 9 player, will be good enough to actually perform in stage 4 and 5.
Keeping a pan in the end here for Ironbog, so really curious to see where that could be going towards. Does have the AP item stand as well. Keeping a Yuumi on the bench, so it could be something like Prodigy maybe.
I think you get much more value from Prodigy Emblem. Yeah. Compared to Strategist Emblem or Sorks, for example.
Yeah. Could be an option. Does have a Yuumi on the bench, of course, not the strongest at the moment with no other prodigies. Only has the Malzahar and also the Syndra on the board right now, but maybe valuing the Malzahar over the Yuumi right now because it doesn't have the Battle Academy in, but has been farming up a lot of gold as well. Another player that, you know, took this kind of econ augment early on, is trying to push levels as much as possible. I'm not too sure if he actually slammed his, he must have slammed his Radiant item. Couldn't quite catch what it was, but also he does have the Pandora's box as well to try and make sure that he guarantees the pan that he wants.
From Haruru now has Econ all the way back up to 50, thanks to, I assume, GP helping him out with the extra Econ across the later stages of Stage 3, and is now on a 5-win streak, as well as Yoroi on a 4-win streak now. Fnatic leading the pack coming into Stage 4 with 3 of their players above 80 HP. Generally, this is very good news. That being said, I mentioned it before, all 3 of these players are playing AD Flex, and they're playing for game plans that this is what they're meant to do. They're meant to be stable in Stage 3 and dominate and bully the rest of the lobby. The big question is, do they stay in that top 4 in Stage 4? If they do, Fnatic has a very good chance of winning this game 1. If they don't, it's going to be a spicy end to the game, I think.
I think it's how they cap out as well, because we know that, like, you know, Ironbog and YYDM might have a lot more in terms of economy because they've been able to save so much overall. You know, we're seeing the Ironbog actually using all his gold. You can see on the right-hand side is rolling a lot of his gold. YYDM went down to 0 gold as well, already level 8 at 4-1. So YYDM playing aggressively, trying to roll down and hit the units that he really, really wants. So that's the power of kind of lose streaking sometimes. It's a lot easier to lose streak compared to win streaking, so you'll be able to earn so much economy over time. But now's the question, can YYDM come back in terms of HP, and has his board stabilized to make sure that he can, you know, counteract some of these boards like Kemu and Armatron?
Playing the 5 Mighty Mech version of Gangplank on this level 6 before he pivots to the 4 Mentor. I assume on 4-5, of course, you need to get a little bit closer to Gangplank to consider going 7. But the Jhin will win out the battle in the end. Can Karma, without the full Sork, actually win it? I think this Mundo will be saying no with how tanky he's looking, how confident he's looking as a frontliner for that comp. Another prismatic augment coming around. More very strong options here. Things like Belt Overflow, so strong for Yuumi comp, for example, with this Battle Academy for Kebabao, because the Yuumi scales by herself. All she needs is time. If you give her a lot of time, she will do as much damage as you need her to do. She will kill Mundo, she will kill anyone in her path. These belts are going to help not just a Leona, but a secondary tank as well by even more time.
You can either give a little bit of HP over to the Yuumi as well. You should build items like Godbreaker as well. You know, you can give that a little bit of HP, but you're expecting, you know, potentially double Warmogs to be slammed. It's a very, very popular. Leave one of the other belts, as I mentioned, for Godbreaker, which is very popular. Fortunately, roll down not really working out too well, though. We can see on the right-hand side, the only Yuumi 1 so far. nothing really else to help out in the end. Not the best power-ups either. Sky Piercer is not too bad to give that extra shred, but overall it's not looking like Flash Walls are really hitting on these roll downs as well. Ironbog as well, also only on a Karma 1, so a lot of these Flash Walls players that were looking to try and push levels have not hit yet.
And this is exactly what I talked about when the game first started. The fast 8, 30 HP, hope I hit game plan.
Yeah.
Is it going to work out? Are you going to end up winning the fights? We're seeing here just barely able to win against Haruru, although this GP might actually prove me wrong. Oh no.
We love stretching.
And this is the problem with this game plan. You're down to 25 HP. You are now forced to donkey roll every turn to hit your pivotal upgrades. You're forced to play into Sork Emblem or Sork +1 because your teammate is playing into Prodigies, into Yuumi, so you can't really pivot off of this with the JG and the Guard Breaker. And YYDM has been given an option to win the game for free if he finds a single 5-cost copy of a unit called Gwen. Because with triple sniper's focus, well, she does a lot of damage, a lot of mathematician. I'm not going to calculate how much, but I'll let our viewers just enjoy themselves once that combo comes together, if it comes together.
I've had to deal with that a few times in ladder. It's a bit of a nightmare to come up against, to be fair, but I mean, in terms of everything else as well, of course, with Gwen, you normally want to pair with either, the Soul Fighter or the Sorcerers. It looks like he is going for that Edge version.
One crazy thing, actually, maybe YYDM maybe doesn't want to lose this round, but he would be happy to potentially lose. The current priority for the bottom 4 positions is 3 players from Flash Wolves and only Bensak here as well. If there's like one on the carousel, they really, if they give it to YYDM, I mean, he's almost guaranteed a spot in the top 4, considering how strong that combo is with Gwen. So we'll see if that'll be the case here. 5 costs are Braum and Seraphine. No Gwen, unfortunately, just yet.
Not just yet. We're seeing the other augments as well, seeing the other choices across the board. Armor Truck actually going for Invested as well, so he's really pushing levels to potentially to level 9, potentially looking at that composition that you was mentioning, with the Twisted Fate and the Ash as well. Composition that's really only come out over the last few days, really, to be honest. It's not been a composition that we have seen yet on the A stream, but with Invested, you can stack up so much gold over time.
And Bensak with Hard Bargain has gone into Prodigies as well in the end. Now thinking about it more, it's not just for Crystal Gambit. In 4v4, it's also very relevant. You're healing a lot of HP on every carousel. There could be the difference between finishing 5th or 7th or 4th or 3rd, and that could decide a series. You're not going to be the win-out player most likely, but it could be very relevant actually, where HP matters so much more in this format.
I think he realizes as well that, early on it's obviously not going to be the case because you don't know what positions people are in early on. But in this case, you know that Clemo and, Armor Truck can really look for that win out. So you're really just making sure that you save as much HP as possible. Last series, we saw a bunch of Titanic Titan as well, getting that extra HP, which sometimes, as you mentioned, could be a big difference.
Missed the key, Bullet Hell power up on Yuumi, and is still sitting only on the Leona 1. Cassante main tank for now, not really ideal setup just yet for Bensak. He really wants to try and preserve some more HP here, win some of the fights in the tail end of this stage 4.
Doing pretty well.
Armor Truck is fast mining, invested on his 4-2
It's a good time to play him,
offense.
to be honest. It's a good time because in this scenario, you would actually want Bensak to win more.
Yeah, exactly.
And you want Armor Truck to make sure that he can obviously keep his gold, but later on, he might win rounds anyway because he's obviously going to be pushing to level 9, which probably will be after this neutral round, probably push to level 9, see what that roll down could be. Artistic KO is going to be the option for this. Jin hasn't hit Mundo 3, is 1 away from Jin 3 as well for Yoroi. So as you mentioned with that Mundo 3.
That's the game plan. 70 HP coming out of stage 4. This is, you've already done your job in this role as Yoroi. If you hit Mundo, obviously earlier rather than later, fantastic, you'll preserve a bit more HP. But we're seeing, of course, some very strong hold from the rest of Flash Wolves, trying to deny that from happening. Ironbog, 14 HP, could be 1 life in stage 4 if he gets a big enough loss against YYDM, who hasn't removed any items, still has his triple sniper's focus, Yasuo.
Oh, that's a
lot of units left alive.
Against a teammate as well. Is that going to do it for him?
He's just barely alive. Yeah, it's a 1 HP survival, basically. So let's just say calculated. Cool, calm, and collected from Flash Wolves.
Again, he just has to keep rolling. Actually went for the Sork +1 in the end with the pan. So putting that on the Zyra, which is one of the best units that you can put on, just getting so much AP and so much attack speed to his team as well. But again, no Karma 2 means that it's going to be a really big struggle to try and stabilize this board. And there you go. It's a comp that you mentioned as well. We can't really see the power up just yet.
For Ash and Unstoppable for Mundo.
It's not bad.
And you might think, you know, this board is looking good for Fast9, but not fantastic. And then your eyes look down a little bit more, and you see that he's level 9 with 76 gold. So he still has a lot more of upgrades to fish for. Okay, he's not going past 10, thankfully, or else I would be a little bit worried.
There's the Ash 2.
Is this the Ash 3 game
Ash 3? It could be. Twisted Fate 2 as well. That's pretty big upgrades.
No one is paying attention that he has the potential for Ash 3 right now. He should be holding Wens, I believe, with YYDM fishing for them.
Yeah, we saw it in the previous series.
And with Ironbog also playing Sorks. So I'm a bit, I think that's a misplay, not holding more Gwens there.
You're on the other side. Jin 3 and Mundo 3 here, which is really, really huge. And still has a lot of HP to play
5
with.
Ashes.
No one's really looking at the moment. Is holding the Karma though, so does actually realize that he needs to hold some units with this extra gold and that he does have.
He is playing Severin Juggernauts as well, so has to correct that and add in the Zyra, which I believe he hasn't yet.
Benzak could be a huge MVP this game again before Fnatic if he takes the Ironbog in this one.
I believe it's still Leona 1. The Swain's tanking for a long time. The Yuumi is scaling, but there's much more burst from the Karma. The Rise even helping as well. That's going to be another loss for Benzak. He could be in trouble here. The hard bargain may be a bit too hard to accept.
I think it really comes down now to making sure that you don't get 8th. You know, it's such a big thing. You know, that 1 point can make a huge difference overall. Jarvan 2 for Ironbog is huge. Still hasn't found even the Karma 2 yet. Has actually swapped the Sork over to the Rise to try and get some more damage output on the backline. But when you have the power up, when you have the power up on the Karma, when you have most of the powerful items on Karma, like the Radiant Guardbreaker as well, you really want this Karma 2 to come online. The front line is great, but overall, it seems like there's not a lot of backline damage.
And the extra Sork +1 allows you to play a Bastion, which really helps Swain's tankiness, and especially if you're playing a Bastion like Braum, who can add some utility as well.
Against a teammate.
Okay, Bao. Yuumi items have been removed from the cat, which means that this should be a win for Ironbog. This is one more lifeline being given. For your Roy, items have not been removed. Jin is looking deadly, Mundo is looking tanky, and Yuumi has to be a killer in this matchup. She has to have a good angle on Jin here. Jin might angle her first with snipers. That's exactly the case.
No.
He doesn't cast again. And I think this is a loss.
Seraphine?
Unless Seraphine can clutch it. Ezreal putting in the work. MVP for Ezreal. He knows how to dance that one off. A huge win for Benzak there. Look at the HP total at the bottom.
I mean, that was nearly so well played by Flash Wolves. Of course, making sure that you use the removers later on. Saving the removers in the early game is so important in 4 versus 4. Of course, in ladder, you can use them to swap your items over to another carry. But in 4 versus 4, it allows you to try and sack rounds and try and make sure you don't get that 8th. Luckily for Fnatic here, that round win was just in the case for Benzak. But like you mentioned, the HP totals are crazy.
Can we check out their boards to see what some of these boards look like? We've seen Ironbogs, but Armatrack, I'm wondering how he is still losing. He had a pretty well-assembled board, I would say, but we're now with Armatrack, we're good with K-Bao as well, both fighting for their life against teammates, both of them. So in theory, they should be both surviving here if their teammates had enough removers. It looks like that is the case for YYDM. The Sniper Focus are off of the Yasuo, and it looks like Aruru also removed the GP from the war altogether. It's on the bench right now, so correct team play from Flash Wolves, correct matchmaking from Mortok potentially in terms of both of them having a chance to survive.
That means Fnatic also played against each other as well. Yep. So what happened with Fnatic? Were they able to communicate?
They also survived.
We'll have to see what the HP totals are. Looks like everyone is alive.
And looking at Armatrack's board now, it is still just the Ashe 2, TF2.
Lee Sin 2.
Braum is in, Zyra, I believe, is still not in yet.
How is everyone still alive? This is absolutely crazy, but I think it's really well played by both teams. I think being able to understand the position that you're in, we need to sacrifice some rounds, we need to keep people alive, and this proves that both these teams value that 8th place so much. They don't want the first person to go out, but it's going to come down to some of the top players actually losing a lot of HP now. You know, we see other players like Yoroi now, you know, sitting really low on HP. It's going to be really close and going to come down to the wire here.
And there's still no Gwen for YYDM, so he's still carrying, I think, the Yasuo with Sniper's Focus. But looking now at the 2 boards from Flash Wolves that are on their last live, both of them fast 8 AP players who hit a little bit later than they would have liked, I think. In the case of Ironbog especially, he was down to 1 life very quickly in stage 4, has been saved multiple times by his teammates. Now, I think most likely matchmaking will pit him against someone from Fnatic, and that could be the end of the road.
Ironbog picking up the Strategist +1 as well from the carousel. That extra bit of shielding, extra bit of damage might be crucial here. Is going to go up against Armatrack, that Fast9 board. Whereas on the right-hand side, it's going to be Benzak against Kabao.
So everyone currently on screen is on 1 life. The victors will stay alive. The losers eliminated potentially in 7th and 8th place.
Ash is stacking.
Ash is stacking. She's staying alive. Karma's down. It's just down to Rise, the imposter sorcerer. And he does not have the wizard hat he needs to have. 1 death each. Who took the bigger loss? Yoroi also down for Fnatic. And Ironbog did take the 8th, so small advantage in that sense, but in the end, it is Fnatic with 2 players who have now been eliminated. It's still a triple Sniper's Focus setup for Yasuo, but we're going level 9, and we have a Gwen on the bench. It could be a somewhat of a Soul Fighter pivot back into Gwen, I have to assume, when she's 2-star especially.
I mean, in the end, Clemu and Armatrock were the 2 players for Fnatic that needed to win out for their team. You know, we talked about Armatrock fast pushing to level 9, Clemu in a really strong spot as well. But it's actually Flash Wolves that have been able to outcap at the moment. Armatrock is going to play against Clemu now, so Clemu, is he going to sacrifice HP? It doesn't look like he's removed any items at all. We'll have to see if Armatrock can do enough damage.
Yasuo's targeted, he's taken down, so all the threats here on the opposing board are very far away. It should be an easy win here for Armatrock. Were items off of Gangplank, I think, potentially for Clemu?
There were some tank items on Gangplank, but not too sure.
So maybe that was the case. Anyways, Armatrock stays alive. K-Bao is going to be out, so that is going to be the sandwich formation in the bottom 4 with essentially parity in points. It's now going to come down to, as usual, whoever wins out is going to have that big advantage coming into this top 4. Armatrock, halfway level 10 with Slammin. He has a strong board. Is it stronger than Triple Sniper's Focus? That is the big question for me.
Triple Sniper's Focus and also the other board as well being at the you know, the Gangplank here that we can see on your bottom left with Clemu as well wasn't able to push levels, but in the end it's going to come down to, you know, potentially this final fight. But I think the HP totals at the moment for Flash Wolves is just way too big, you know, for the likes of Clemu, for the likes of Armatrock. This Fast 9 board, I think this is one of the games that kind of shows the sometimes these Fast 9 boards are going to be very difficult. We're rolling down as well for Haruru, who was able to find that GP3, rolling down of course with Treasure Hunt as well being one of the strongest augments right now in the game.
Quick little +1 spike on the board. Not too bad for Haruru. Not too bad for a gold augment like Treasure Hunt.
Extra Udyr on the board. Would much rather prefer Udyr 3. Does actually get the extra strategist in with the Janna, one of Udyr 3, but I think in the end it's going to come down to this. Haruru is going to be going up against Clemu's board to see if he's going to have enough power.
Battle of the Gangplanks. The problem for Fnatic is both players from Fnatic are on 1 life, so if they go down here, it's pretty much over.
Ash is stacking, not enough damage. I think that's going to do it.
Clemu, yeah, his Gangplank seems to be surrounded. There's way too many units left alive. Clemu is taken down, and Armatrock is taken down in 3rd and in 4th place positions. And this is what we were talking about. Stage 3, the game plan looked great.
Yeah.
The problem is, how does that transition to stage 5 and 6? Are you able to somehow preserve enough HP where it doesn't matter how strong you are? And do you have a win-out player? The answer for Fnatic was no. Armatrock was maybe meant to be that. Maybe if he had the chance to fish for the double Frost Touch, new combo has come out, that could maybe be I won't say auto win, but a very strong win condition. Wasn't quite the case for Armatrock. He went for the more traditional setup. And also, this was a wrench that was thrown into everyone's plans. Triple Sniper's Focus came out of nowhere and took over stage 4 from YYDM.
Yeah, it's really difficult, but I really like this board as well. I think we're seeing a lot more Volley Bears, a lot more Samiras as well, a lot more of these Edgelords coming on through. You can even see it as well, like YYDM's board right now is actually very, very strong. It has that Twisted Fate 2 in as well, and Lee found that Twisted Fate very early, and of course if you find it very early, you can keep stacking up your board and doing so much. But overall, Flash Wolves a very strong performance in this game. One didn't look too strong in the early game, but I think, you know, sacrificing that HP early actually came out a big difference.
I just realized Haruru was thinking probably the whole game, like, hey, where are my Yasuo? He's like, wait a minute, YYDM, are you still carrying Yasuo too with Triple Sniper's Focus? This is what we're talking about when it comes to a player who finds a conditional way to become stronger through a non-meta line.
Yeah.
This is what swings games, and that's exactly what happened in this game. YYDM knew that Triple Sniper's Yasuo is a beast. I was not fully aware. I know about Gwen, but apparently Yasuo is also just a Giga Chad with this setup, and we're seeing it, right? He didn't even pivot to Gwen 1, so Yasuo 2 better than Gwen 1 apparently, at least with the board setup he had where he wasn't playing into full Soul Fighters. And all in all, it's looked very, very impressive. Definitely a tech that I will be stealing for my games, and I think other teams in this tournament have to be looking at as well, because it's a pretty common reward that you're expecting from Call to Chaos when you pick it.
Definitely, and Call to Chaos still being a very strong option, even though sometimes the RNG cannot be on your side with things like that, things like Destiny as well. We've seen a few times in this game, but I think the double prismatic setup as well, you know, to kind of round out this game, really put a spanner in the works for both of these teams. You know, being able to get so much extra power from things like Call to Chaos, from the Radiant items as well, you know, the GP3 in the end from Haruru being, you know, a big difference. But unfortunately for Fnatic, you know, as you mentioned, you know, with Armor Truck potentially being that level 9, you know, fast push player into level 9, wasn't able to win out. You know, in that spot, you're expecting to try and win out, especially with Invested as well, having so much gold to roll down. Hit the 5 cost, but I think it just shows that sometimes the 5 costs are not really that powerful.
I would even say he had too much gold. At the end of it, he hit his entire board with still like 60 gold to roll on level 9, and you're thinking maybe he just doesn't take Invested, and he just plays for combat augment and has enough gold to go fast 9 anyway. You're risking it, obviously. Maybe he hit higher than or earlier than expected with that much gold, but it's a consideration, right? When you have that much more gold and you're not able to extract value from the extra gold you have, you're essentially down a prismatic augment, and that was noticeable in these last few fights.
I think overall, you know, with some of the teams, especially in this tournament and in 4 versus 4, I feel like Econ augments have been a much higher priority over combat augment, with 3 stars being so important, with the 2 stars early on being so important to hit, to play aggressively at 3-2 to try and save a lot of HP. It's been a lot more popular to see that over combat augments, but I think some of these games you kind of see these extra augment powers, you know, with things like Radiant items, with Call to Chaos, with Triple Sniper's Focus, can make a huge difference, as well as another strategist goes in here. But yeah, Kabuko 3, Gangplank 3.
I would have maybe liked to see Armor Truck play more for the Ashe 3 win condition. It's very hard in 4v4. There's multiple players obviously trying to grief you and hold. It's not just a ladder game where everyone's asleep. He was able to you know, sneak an Ashe 3 by without anyone noticing.
I feel like that's you maybe sometimes.
There'll be a lot of things happening in 4v4 obviously, or just verbal communication. Yeah. But it was a win condition, right? He was on 5 Ashes, maybe 4 before rolling a lot more of the extra gold. He could have greeted out with Invested. And at the very least, he forces the other players from Flash Wolves to hold Ashes on their bench or to roll for it and kind of bring down their own possible cap.
Essentially the final fight here, the winning fight here for Flash Wolves, with the Gangplank trying his best to try and take everyone out, and will take everyone out on the end of. We'll have one final fight after the last mini round. Go to stage 7. I feel like in 4v4 you go to stage 6, stage 7 quite a lot, because we saw the HP totals in the end of this game. Like, everyone was on 1 life, and it really came down to who was able to use their removers effectively. And we saw one round where Flash Wolves were going up against each other, all 4 members of Flash Wolves going up against each other. Same with Fnatic as well, and they were both able to communicate enough. So I don't think it's a problem with Fnatic in terms of communication. I think it's probably down to do with, you know, the meta, what spots they're in, how they can try and win out as well, which has been a struggle, I think, with Fnatic, especially we saw yesterday as well. You know, with Bensack getting 2 third places yesterday, but in this one, not able to find a win out position, but you can tell the communication is on point.
I'll be honest, I think the Call to Chaos, Sniper's Focus, that's completely unpredictable, and YYDM went from the worst spot to the best spot in stage 4. That completely warped all the HP and stability that Fnatic had fought for in stage 3. I think the game plan in theory is still very solid in terms of playing a lot of this AD flex and playing very strong stage 2 and 3. As long as you have a win-out player. Armor Truck did not quite make it there. I think Bensack's game plan also did not look too solid in terms of missing the Leona 2 and losing a lot of HP in stage 4. And Clemoon was just the more low-roll GP player, I would say, whereas Haruru just had a better setup overall.
Down to the final fight here as well to see if the Gangplank can win it all once again against the Sniper's Focus Yasuo. Obviously not dashing, making sure that he keeps his distance, but I don't think anyone could do anything about the Gangplank, especially with stretchy arms. It's like he has a hidden Sniper's Focus in him with his own power-up.
And what a first game. What a roller coaster of emotions for both teams. Fnatic bullying and dominating in stages 2 and 3. Flash Wolf saying, you know what? We're okay. We're going to scale. We're going to come back stronger in stage 4 and 5. And then YYDM saying, yeah, I got this, guys. I'm going to call to chaos, and I'm going to hope for the best, and the best did arrive Triple Sniper's focus. Yasuo, you have to know how to make use of those high rolls. He knew perfectly well how strong Yasuo was in that setup, and he completely took over all of stage 4 with a massive win streak, preserving so much HP for his team.
And I think you don't rarely get into positions like that as well. And I think, as you mentioned, you know, the position to understand the Yasuo 2 is going to be better than the Gwen 1. Of course, we know the power of Gwen with the snip, but the Sniper's focus going from across the board. But overall, understanding that position, maybe not playing as much in that point, but being able to get there is really important.
We'll hear a more in-depth breakdown from our analysts now. Take it away, guys.
Absolutely. But first of all, we got to congratulate Flash Wolves here by staying resilient through that roller coaster of emotions. You know, looking at the game, you're thinking, oh, Fnatic got it, and then they don't. And having that resilience, staying cool, calm, and collected from the side of Flash Wolves is definitely a skill to be applauding here.
Absolutely. We've seen at the pretty much stage 2, stage 3, Fnatic being dominant, and then trying to send one player AFE. They collectively had 8 karma, just denying that from the Flash Wolves player, and then in the end he couldn't hit and he went AFE. But guess what? The rest of the players did actually well. They had a solid spot, they had a win out spots, while Fnatic had nothing. They relied on the Arma track, hitting something like 3-star 4 cost, and he ended up not getting there. He played the defense alongside the teammate, denying karma, and he himself didn't hit much. And trying to cap out on the Mundo 2, Ashe 2 is just not enough. And that was their player, and he ended up going bottom alongside the other ones.
Yeah, I mean, just to bring it back out to the big picture there, it was really striking to see all 4 Fnatic members in the top 4 for an extended period in that game. I couldn't help shaking the feeling that there's reasons that teams don't generally do that, you know, with all the, say, the loss streak goal and things you're missing out on. I do like the fact that Fnatic have really changed up what they were doing from their first series, where they were really aggressed onto, but it feels like it's a strategy that needs a little bit more refinement.
Yeah, and this game we've seen Haruru on GP with the treasure hunt, and he massively low rolled. He rolled to 10 gold, and on the initial roll down he did see only 1 GP. That's really bad, and we thought it's a doom spot because it was their GP player. There is in the Fnatic player also GP player, and when this happens it could be a doom spot, but at the end the copies came later on and he managed to clutch it up with the treasure hunt.
Yeah, they managed to crawl this back as well. And I think for Fnatic, you're touching upon the fact that they have improved a lot from yesterday's game into today's series. And I think that's something that we, at the very least, expected to see from that roster. When it comes to this game, though, specifically, I would really like to maybe dissect it a little bit further. The fact that we see these players in the top 4 spots for such a long period of time. I don't think we've seen that before from any of the other teams. Is just a mistake when it comes to how Fnatic has approached the game? Or do we think there's an underlying strategy? There's some method to the madness?
It's a common strategy, sending one player AFE, and they successfully did it. But the problem was securing the higher positions. And the thing is, YYDM hitting that triple sniper focus pretty much crossed all their plans. And he said, nope, Yasuo 2, I am stable, I can go down, baby.
I think maybe against a team that's less put together than we saw, from the Wolves here, it maybe would have caused them to panic more, but it didn't seem like they were at all flustered by taking so much damage early on. They knew they could spin around and come back into this one. I do think, though, if we just see a slight modification, trying to build maybe a little bit more late-term potential with the Fnatic, I wouldn't mind them seeing a similar sort of thing again.
Yeah, we're looking at this series, though, and I think the question then is, for me, what can Fnatic change even further? They've improved already when it comes to yesterday and to today, but what else is lacking? Because this is Flash Wolves that you're going up against. It is a team that put on a formidable performance against Twisted Mind yesterday as well.
To put it as few words as I can, too much tempo, too little value for Fnatic.
No, I think that's very succinctly put. Again, I think it's only a matter of degrees. I really hope this goes to 3 games because Fnatic are getting better and better. But as we saw from the series yesterday, Flash Wolves are unflappable under pressure.
Yeah, and that is also a difficult scenario to be in because the pressure now for Fnatic is very much on. They are potentially 1 game away from being eliminated, 1 game away of being out of the tournament, having their key crush, and that is not an easy thing to deal with mentally.
Absolutely. So I would love to see them having a dedicated player for a win out. Again, they thought, I think it's Armatrak, but so little combat power in the augments, and where they've seen the sniper focus hit from YYDM, they had to go for some Hail Mary, like a 3-star rush. And we've seen an attempt, but then he took around Armatrak to play Denial on Karma instead of going all in on the Tash. So, and once the Flash Wolves realized that, they could actually play Deny game. So he had to give up on the Ash at the end.
Yeah, I mean, it's always going to be tempting, I think, when you're coming in as Fnatic as the underdogs to go for something, more high risk, high reward, which is vulnerable to, to failure, because you know that, face to face against the Wolves here, it's going to be very hard to beat them in standard 4v4 TFT. So maybe there's just another more tricky play they can do. I don't know. I hope we see Fnatic adjust, but it's going to need to be a big adjustment to get the win.
Yeah, that's necessary, definitely from the side of Fnatic, but from the side of Flash Wolves, you want to stay in the driver's seat. You want to try and get through this with as little as, turbulence as humanly possible. So for their side of things, what are we looking at?
I mean, I was a bit worried for the Flash Wolves this game due to the fact they had 3 players going fast 8 with 1 player playing GP. So if you miss on your roll down as on the side on the Flash Wolves, you are doomed. And 3 of those players were at the bottom of the bracket, hence their spot was looking shaky on stage 3. But 2 of the players hit pretty well, 1 of the players didn't, and this was the player the Ironbog they decided to send Dave successfully, but rest of them was perfectly fine.
I mean, in a weird way, I kind of feel like it was good news that Kabao actually went 5th in that game after being the leading player for such a long time in the previous series, just to show that the rest of the Flash Wolves can perform at that kind of level, and it's not just a one-trick pony kind of team. So again, more of the same, I think, very much is called for.
Yeah, so then when it comes to Fnatic for this final game, I think we already touched upon that we want to see them maybe make a couple of changes, adapt a little bit, too much tempo, too little value for it. How can they approach that in a very specific manner?
Be greedier, play a bit more for top end, don't be too low on the floor.
All right, well, there we go. Some very concise, quick words of wisdom from our analyst for Fnatic as we're going to be heading into the second game of this matchup as they're going up against Flash Wolves. But first, a little break, and we'll be back shortly.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the third elimination series of today's group number C, Fnatic versus Flash Wolves. Flash Wolves is in a dominant position now. A strong comeback in that first game puts Fnatic on the chopping block for this game number 2. And Fnatic, I mean, as an organization, very different team in last year's EWC with an American roster, with Dish Soap, with Wage and Iverson, with some big all-star names who also fell short at the start of the tournament, losing to LNZ QZ10 back then. A big surprise loss. And once again now, this Fnatic roster very different, EMEA-based, but again, against the ropes on this second day of competition.
Yeah, Fnatic back home with their roster, but unfortunately it doesn't seem like they're finding a home on the boards right now and in Teamfight tactics. A team and an organization that, you know, of course expect the best of the best from their teams, and they expect to try and move on in this tournament as well. But I think with Falcons already going out today, I think just proves how brutal this format can be and how different 4v4 is as well, you know, for us as well as casters and for all the talent. It's a new environment still for these players as well, and I think it's such a unique way, and players are still learning from 4v4 tournaments, and you know, with this happening as well last year, I think it's still a learning curve as well.
Coming into this game, we're seeing Twisted Fate as our encounter extra component anvils. Important for a couple of reasons. First of all, rerolls and their main carries will hit their 3-item spike a little bit earlier, especially in the case of hero augments. It's very evident how important this will be in terms of bullying and preserving HP in the early game. Second, you have a much easier time finding BIS for key units. Karma, for example, wants exactly Shojin, JG, and Striker's Flail to deal amounts of burst damage necessary to just insta-kill tanks and allow for that chain explosion with the percentage HP damage coming out from the 6 Sork vertical. Something like a GP as well, we mentioned it, if you're playing it from tempo, which you kind of would like to do in stage 2 if you have the board for it. The downside is you can't fight for bows on Carousel, which means you can't, you know, play for Rageblade or Kraken's Fury. The component anvils really help with this. Bensack has a possible line for Smolder. It's not shiny, so gonna have a little bit less stats than you would if it was a color blue. But all in all, a very interesting line. I'm a big fan of it. I think anything with Juggernauts is kind of strong in stage 2 and 3. Smolder can win games in the right setups. He can kind of has kind of a natural scaling ability with his monster trainer levels. And this could be, again, in Fnatic's game plan of playing AD Flex, playing around Juggernauts. Mundo's just so strong in the current meta. We'll see if he goes for it.
Prismatics might change that up, though, a little bit. I think we haven't really seen any Smolder at all, I think, throughout the entire tournament. No.
We saw yesterday there was a second place from one of the CN teams.
Yeah, I think we've only seen it once, which is pretty difficult. But yeah, I mean, Prismatic changes it up so much. You know, you might have an early Smolder, does have the over 9,000 as well, so you can get the extra bonus stacks, which can stack over time, which is going to be great, whether it's HP or AD. But yeah, Prismatic Augments to start things off. It means that things like Protagonist might come out again. We saw it in the last series with Protagonist, with the Zakira Augment being very strong.
Camus has a hard choice here between upper mobility, one of the fast 9 augments in the Prismatic meta. We saw it so often with Boombot's last set, and we're seeing it now here from Camus. We'll see what comp he ends up going for. For now, has a very strong setup with Battle Academia with the Protector Rakan, 2 copies already, and the Katarina. He is popping anvils already, so maybe starting to look at other options. I'm very curious what line he goes in terms of fast 8, fast 9. You really only get the value from the augment if you end up going 9, basically.
2 interesting spots here as well. At what cost? But another Protagonist, this time the Kennen, being another very powerful hero augment. We already saw how strong Zac was in the previous series. Kennen also can be very powerful. And as you mentioned, Panda, with it being component anvils as well, it makes it that little bit easier to try and hit your best in slot items for these hero augments. And already feel Bao is going to be in a very comfortable position, is going to feel very confident about this game.
For Kennen, you usually want Rageblade and JG Guardbreaker, for example, or Checker's Flail is usually considered best in the slot, I would say, for Kennen. And this essentially means that you already have one best in slot item right away. The amount of times that you play for a very structured, non-flexible comp like a hero augment is, and you just don't hit the right components on Krugs or on Wolves, and you're winning in the early stages of the game because you're very strong, so you're not having priority on Carousel. It's a nightmare, basically, and everyone on Fnatic knows what items to greed for you to not hit your best in slot, but the component anvils on TF Encounter really help with this.
Manazane with Infinity Edge. Normally seen the Manazane with something like the, the Karma and the Yumi, but could potentially be looking at Caitlyn reroll as a
Varus
potential.
is also a very strong
Varus,
Manazane user. We're obviously in 2-2, so
It's very early on.
A little bit far away from fielding a Varus.
I can see Caitlyn being pretty well though, because it's obviously her ability is just very powerful, and you can just quickly get a second one straight away as well. So that could be very nice to try and snipe the back line. But a lot of interesting augments, of course, prismatics. We always mentioned that can just make the game so wild and so free with how much that you can get there. Something like commit as well, also going to be very strong. But Crystal Gambit opener for Armor Truck will have to make sure that hopefully he doesn't get griefed by his teammates like in the last series. But
really not.
Can be a big possibility here to try and potentially look for that 210 cash out, which I think a lot of players are looking for that spatula +1.
Ooh, Haruru also a very interesting setup. For now, Dawn Core onto this Katarina. It is a strong option. She essentially starts becoming a Beyblade. You have to give her some amount of damage, though, is the one thing that you have to consider. But it can be a very, very strong setup for Haruru as well. It's very strong with Rising Chaos Syndra, for example, as well. It's strong with GP. So, I mean, Dawn Core is a pretty good item in the current reroll meta.
Yeah, one of her strongest artifacts for sure. I mean, she can be very, very powerful and keep spinning around. Of course, you have the Edge of Night, which is also going to be very powerful as well to make sure that she can toggle aggro, she make sure she doesn't get focused, and then you need something like a Had of Justice as well, making sure that she has the extra healing, as you mentioned, extra damage as well. Obviously not going to be as powerful right now as a 1-star, but we haven't really seen Katarina performing too well in the tournament so far. I think that a lot of players were understanding that it's pretty nice to be able to position against, and it can be difficult to try and hit as well.
Bensack, some extra tech here with the component anvil. You can pop it right before the carousel comes up, and you have more information around completing a full item, a full best in slot item, by knowing what you're going to get on the carousel and then knowing what component to match alongside of it.
Definitely very nice. We see the other augments as well coming on through for these players.
A lot of artifacts.
A couple of Living Forge.
At what cost? Very strong for Ironbog. Going to really bully the rest of the lobby in terms of damage dealt. And then we'll see. I mean, it seems like Clash World likes to take their risks, right? We're seeing Call to Chaos working out for YYDM in game 1. At what cost now? We'll see what the random augment pick is going to be on 3-2 and on 4-2 for Ironbog. Bensack has a Radiant Rageblade Smolder already set up here, and I think this could be the game plan for Bensack going forward. Has a GP as well, though. He is considering. He will hold it at the very least. If he naturals a GP too, surely.
Do you swap it?
I don't know what everyone on his team is playing yet. I think right now you can kind of index into the Monster Trainer, get the level ups basically on the takedowns, and then identify your spot at 3-2 and then start to decide if you want to take the risk and then regret not playing GP, or if you just want to go for the meta line.
As long as it doesn't ruin your econ, but I think with the, as you mentioned, with the monster levels, but also the over 9,000 stacking as well, it can be a possibility. If you find like a Smolder 2, it can stabilize your board pretty well. Smolder 1 doesn't do a crazy amount of damage, but I think with that Radiant Rageblade is definitely going to help him out as well. In terms of the HP totals, Ironbog still on that win streak, as you mentioned, with at what cost as well. He's going to help out with his levels, but of course, he won't be able to pick his other augments, so he's not really going to be able to see what's going on. But Armor Truck now deciding to double down again, going to be very strong to make sure that he keeps this loss streak as well, and then he can try and look, like I said, I think the big one is like 210, we can get the spatula, and then from that you can kind of play flexible. Actually, already has a, is that right? Already has a spatula.
I believe he made, oh no, I think it is right.
I'm not too sure if that's someone else or if that's
there was
him.
3 spatulas picked up on the carousel, and he did get 1 emblem from his augment, so yeah, that is right. He has Protect Emblem for now. And if that's the case, I'm a little bit surprised. I guess he doesn't want to commit right now to Crystal Gambit, but there is the idea that when playing Crystal Gambit, if you have an emblem for it, you can field 2 Crystal Gambit units, 1 unit that you don't care about, that you essentially just want to use as a unit that can potentially kill 1 unit at the very least to save some HP. And then as the fight starts up, if you are going to lose by a lot, you slam the emblem on the unit, you kill some units ideally, some opponent's units, and you lose that fight. If you are winning, because the opponents from Flash Wolves are sacking to make sure you can't cash out, you don't slam the emblem, and you just essentially delay your cash out by 1 round, but you keep the stack going, basically. So it's basically ungriefable. Or at least you have 6 turns to do 4 losses, basically. So.
I guess it kind of depends if you're okay with, like you said, delaying it as well, because obviously you're going to delay the the cash out. You're going to delay that spike that you need. You might lose a little bit more HP. It's probably a lot more safer to play, but it can be a little bit riskier in terms of your HP.
If you put it in a 2-1, it's fine. If you put it in any later, that's where it becomes dicey, because then you're starting to sack 4-1 before your cash out, and you're not able to do the cash out on Wolves to then have that much more time to pivot and to stabilize on 4-1.
Yeah, we'll have to see, because it could be a very interesting board, and one of the times that we could see the 7 Crystal Gambit, which pretty much turns it into a win streak. Win streak trait, being able to get so many cash outs, you can get artifacts from it, you can get gold, you can get units, so definitely a very interesting spot with already one spatula and could potentially get another spatula and could make a crown as well. So plenty of positions that these players can put themselves in. They're not completely committed, but one player that is committed is Kabao out on this Kennen right now as a few away from that Kennen 3-star, but of course doesn't need to roll because has the protagonist, so he's going to get one every single round.
Yeah, wants to play for tempo. We're seeing Bensak has indeed pivoted to Gangplank, and it's only a Gangplank 1 for now. Gangplank 2 holding Katarina's, understanding that someone from Flash Wolves is going to be rolling Katarina 3. So going to just try and hold this Katarina for now, while also increasing the odds of him finding key 2-costs like GP, like the Kabuko, with some Katarinas out of the pool. And we do see a Katarina being held by Armor Truck as well. So a unified griefing effort from Fnatic in this game number 2, understanding that they have to, yet again, try and send one player 8th. And Alan was mentioning on the analyst desk, we need to find a win condition player.
Yes.
Armor Truck says, you know what? I raise my hand, I sacrifice myself, I volunteer yet again. This time trying to go down a more secure win condition, which is the Crystal Gambit cash out if he makes it that far.
I would say normally going for Fast 9 would be normally a win condition as well in of itself, but maybe not just in this meta, in this patch right now. But overall,
it's happening.
Better. Oh,
the true thematic Kennen hero augment into Tesla coil.
The lightning is real.
There's 3 essential kind of like Pokemons in this set. Kennen is the 4th one apparently, because he will be zapping everyone. We do see the Crystal Gambit emblem. We are seeing 5 Crystal Gambit played, so Armor Truck apparently not scared of his cash out being broken. 2 more rounds left to go for this cash to be as spicy as possible. And he does have a heavyweight emblem slammed as well. Or no, this is from the flexible, rather. So he didn't slam this. He just came into his comp. Doesn't really fit too well with the Crystal Gambit as a whole when it comes to the stable comp on level 8. You can add a Kabuka, though. It's going to be good. Actually, no, you're playing Udyr already for Ashe, for Juggernauts, and Duelist. So
yeah.
Not ideal.
It might be a little bit difficult to fit in, but I think already having that Crystal Gambit +1, as I mentioned, you know, trying to potentially go for the 7 Crystal Gambit. But as I mentioned, if you go for 7, if you go for another spatula, if you can get one from the cash out and you get 2 Crystal Gambit,
this guarantees that you have 7, which is
then, exactly, yeah. Because at the moment he still needs to hit a Zyra to be able to get the 7 Crystal Gambit, which can be a little bit difficult, especially when you lose streaking. You don't have that much money to kind of input in terms of XP. You want to roll down to make sure you save that HP after you get the cash out.
We saw a Wild Wild West showdown there between Bensak and a Katarina player, where you look at the Katarina's player bench, he has 4 GPs. You look at Bensak's bench, he has 3 Katarinas. You're like, you know what? Unless you sell, I'm not selling. Really spicy game 2 starting to come together. Armor Truck, we're mentioning, Crystal Gambit has a very, very high chance of winning this game if he stabilizes. Up to finding the Zyra with 2 Crystal Gambit emblems. He has 7 Crystal Gambit, which is just an insane power spike in terms of just full-on stats on your board. 500 HP to all Crystal Gambit units, and I think it's 35% damage amp for the numbers that were added on after the B patch, making it a very strong win condition comp if you can make it that far. Battle Academy emblem for Haruru here.
Yep.
Playing around, obviously, the vertical Battle Academy, which is a more traditional build for Katarina. Able to fit 7 Battle Academy plus the rise on level 7, which is a big deal, obviously.
Really big. Another big deal as well is holding them Gangplanks on the bench. Hasn't been able to find the Katarina too, unfortunately, because we know the Katarinas are being hold, but same with the Gangplanks. The Gangplanks are also being hold. So we're seeing now that these 3-2 roll downs are not only to play aggressive in terms of making your board stronger, but also making it so you can deny a lot more units as well. You can pick up the Gangplanks, you can pick up the Katarinas as well, making it so important.
There's no Ashe. There is a Poppy for Ironbog. Could be very interesting. He's not really close to the first pick. There's a Yuumi as well for the Battle Academy players. So some really strong pickups here. Karma as well for YYDM, who I believe is going for Sorks. That is the case here as well. So we're seeing 3 Fast 8 players again from Flash Wolves. Ironbog actually with At What Cost? I think not sure if on purpose or just due to his natural shops, playing into Star Guardian makes so much sense because they have both AP and AD carry. So when you can't choose your second and third augments, having the flexibility, having comp that can maybe benefit both AD and AP, and it's just a very flexible comp as a whole, is actually a very good idea, where you can fit so many different side traits to pair along with a vertical.
They get the cash out in the end. Couldn't quite see what the what number the cash out was. I don't think it was quite as high as what he was hoping for, but I don't think you can really double down. Is that how you say it? Double down with the
You can't do it. You can only do it once. So
yeah.
that's going to be the end of the game.
It's a bit difficult.
The end of the cash out for Armor Truck.
It's slamming Rage Blade though, so I think he actually is going to go for the Ash. Yeah.
I mean,
just committed with the +1 as well.
Talking about finding a wing edition. This is the wing edition. You can't pivot out of this. I mean, you're locked in. Once you start the process, you do not get out of this. The only question is, do you have an easy game where you find a Zyra on your level 8 roll down? Considering he's on level 7, 30 gold, I'm not too sure that's going to happen. Looks like he's very far away econ-wise. Or do you find a harder game where you're forced to stabilize on 5 Crystal Gambit and then slowly make your way up to that Zyra?
Does he have double Crystal Gambit actually?
He might. It could be a delay in the HUD. So I will, it looks like there's a delay on the HUD.
Wow, no, it is. He has 2.
It is 2, so never mind.
That's huge.
Zyra not
Don't
needed.
need a Zyra.
He will have Crystal Gambit pretty much for free the moment he finds the Ash, and that is a very big deal. For this comp, around stability, you're looking at a few key units outside of the Crystal Gambit units. That's going to be Cassante for Protector, although in this case we have a Protector emblem, so not really going to fit as well. You're looking at Udyr especially because he pairs 2 synergies. Duelist for Ashe, who is going to be your main carry for the comp, as well as Juggernaut alongside Vi. And then pretty much any 5 cost will fit. You can eventually upgrade the Udyr into Lee Sin. You can fit a Zyra obviously onto the board. TF is going to be a great Duelist emblem carrier, which is one of the possible cash outs you get from the kill streaks you end up going when you have 7 Crystal Gambit in. So we needed a wing edition for Fnatic, and we have one. Armor Truck yet again stepping up to the plate.
I haven't looked at Bensak's board for a while as well, but Bensak, 100 HP still as well, is on that nice streak. Is going to carry on that win streak as well, with that Gangplank being, of course, so powerful as what we know as well. Bronze for Life in there to give you extra bit of damage, as well as stretchy arms and the Radiant version of that Rage Blade. So we have Bensak on a win streak, who's in a very strong spot. We have Armor Truck, of course, on that loss streak, but we know he has a really strong win-out condition as well. So it looks like, again, that, you know, coming into stage 4, Fnatic look like they're in a very strong position, but it's kind of at this stage of the game where things kind of fall apart for them and they can't find their ways to try and win out these lobbies. But I feel like it's a lot easier this time around. It's a lot easier to execute this time around in terms of the compositions and in terms of where they can look to try and win out.
The big question is, does YYDM stabilize? 31 HP. He does have
last game.
he maybe has enough gold, I believe, with the loss streaks to end up rolling on 4-1. If he, like Ironbog, misses the Karma 2, misses the key upgrades for the Stork board, he might be going 8th because he's just not going to be strong enough to survive the stage 4 with the reroll players hitting and the other fast 8 players hitting their 2-cost carries. So, and secondly, does Ironbog hit the right augment? He has a completely random final augment. It could work with his game plan, it could not. He's playing now for a vertical Star Guardians with Nico 3 as main tank, and it's looking pretty good for now. Has 7 Nikos already on this roll down. He is level 8, so not stuck on level 7. 8 Nikos, 1 away, while also holding Ashes to deny the 7 Crystal Gambit from Armor Truck. Great roll down and great play from Ironbog. Finalizes his main tank.
Lesser Dupe is going to be the option. We do have to wait for the next round to see what his final augment is going to be, but a very unique composition that we don't really see too much. But as you mentioned, that's kind of flexibility that what you need with at what cost, because if you get some sort of AD augment to end things off, or something that doesn't really fit your board, if you're committed to a certain line, then it can be a little bit difficult. But in the end, right now, Ari, you trying to do enough damage. Nico 3, not considered one of the best frontline tanks, you know, compared to someone like Mundo and the Juggernauts, but can definitely help. And especially with that second round chance power up, you can help out with even more frontline with the target dummy.
Unfortunate that he goes for the huge upgrade, rolls to 0, and then hits his teammates on the matchup.
That's pretty good.
Not bad. Not bad at all for this Nico by a lot of time. Haruru finds the GP3 while playing Katarina reroll. What is going on? Surely you pivot this board. I mean, you kind of can't, but you kind of should, no? It's a GP3.
I mean, you might as well.
What is going on?
I've never seen that before, ever.
This is insane.
I mean, surely you just use a Dawn Core on the GP, right? And surely you just put it all in. And
Ironbog has 2 more GPs. I mean, GP3 is not being hit by an actual GP player this lobby, that's for sure.
you just keep it on your bench for the rest of the game.
We have to check Armatruck's board to see if he's hit the Ashe. We have to check YYDM's board as well to see what his roll-in has looked like.
Still on a loss streak as
These
well.
are both players that are on 2 lives now in stage 4. There
Here's
has not been an Ashe, but there's a Zyra, which, I mean, it doesn't quite allow you to itemize an Ashe, which is what you were going for, but you have a TF as well, so this will take these attack speed items and will use them to great benefit. The question is your front line strong enough? You've added in a Poppy with the heavyweight emblem you got from Flexible. Is this enough to stabilize in stage 4 to slowly get more and more snowballing kills here?
Yep. Bensec, I believe, removed items as well from the Gangplank, so making sure that the Crystal Gambit can win now. And again, this is the big thing that people need to understand is like with Crystal Gambit, you want to lose streak when you have 3 or 5 Crystal Gambit, but when you hit 7, it's all about the win streak. It's all about trying to get as many kills as possible.
And Padevil mentioned it with Aegis. They moved on to the playoffs by doing exactly this. Lides hit 7 Crystal Gambit, and the rest of his team allowed him to get free wins and to get snowballing loot from the trade itself to then become strong enough to win all by himself without any training wheels online.
Doesn't have a lot of gold.
It's just about buying time, really. With this setup where you have either an Ashe or a TF that is scaling the Rage Blade, all you need is frontline. Crystal Gambit gives a lot of HP, obviously, but you want to have the 2-star upgrades to make the best use of that. Armatruck's starting to look very, very scary. And Bensec, you can start giving up on the GP3. Just a little tempo action instead, potentially.
He still has it on his bench.
I mean, Bensec is also not playing very fair. He has 4 Katarinas as well here.
It's just a game of holding, isn't it, really? I mean, every single player on on both teams at the moment are just holding each other's units. No one can hit 3 stars. It's just a 3-star Rakan, which, to be honest, is a pretty decent 3-star to hit, especially with Unstoppable as well, and can be pretty annoying. The Katarina 2 proving worthy as well, with Dawn Core being one of her strongest artifacts. And of course, the only other 3-star as well is that Kennen, potentially trying to go for the 4-star as well. But I don't think I've ever seen in a game of 4v4 in Teamfight Tactics where you are sitting on your bench with a 3-star 2-cost iron. That is a lot of gold.
Zyra on the carousel for Armatruck, but YYDN says, I am definitely not asleep. I am wide awake and giga-focused. I will not allow you to take this Zyra for free to hit that 2-star upgrade on the 5-cost Crystal Gambit Legendary.
And YYDM as well, we see with the reinforcement, it was able to use the, I believe that's a Shadow Clone as well. I don't think that's 6 copies of Karma, but
it's
just a Shadow Clone, with the HUD. But
so he made it.
It was really strong. Yeah, he hit it.
The player we were scared about. We saw Ironbog in a worse position, not hitting the Karma until very late. So many Karmas being held by Fnatic in game 1. In this case, it looks like both YYDM and Armatruck, the lose streak risk players who are playing for a win, or at least a top 4, have both hit and stabilized.
And again, I feel like it's a big thing in this tournament as well, where people and players are taking augments to guarantee that you can hit your units. Normally you want something with combat instead of reinforcement because it might be kind of difficult, but reinforcement, as you mentioned, kind of pretty much guarantee. It doesn't 100% guarantee, but it pretty much guarantees that you're going to get that 2-star Karma, which hopefully should stabilize your board, as we see on the other side, YYDM coming up against Yoroi.
Unstoppable here, going to be huge for the Poppy. I think that was a pickup in the end from Yoroi. He is cooking here, still Caitlyn, but he has a Varus pair, one in the shop, one on the bench. It's going to be hard to pivot out of this Battle Academy setup that he has now, and he is still losing fights here. This is the more risky and flexible and creative position from Fnatic. We'll see if Yoroi can pull things together.
Armatruck's still winning. We saw a glimpse there as well of Armatruck still winning. Hopefully he's at the point maybe where he can get more gold and potentially try and look to get some artifact anvils online. But this Karma board is so powerful, as I mentioned, with reinforcement. It kind of guarantees that you're going to get that Karma 2-star on the backline. The Radiant Death Cap as well is just dishing out so much damage, which of course gets shared as well with the Shadow Clone. So you're dishing so much damage on either side. Your front line is pretty tanky as well. You'd probably much rather prefer Ryzen. I'm seeing a lot of players do this. They just put the Ryzen in the front line as well. It's just
this is something to learn for our viewers at home. If your Sorcerer frontline is dying too soon and Karma doesn't have time to deal her damage, Ryzen's not doing much without an emblem. Just add him to the front line. He'll tank a little bit. He'll buy some aggro, buy some time for Karma. Although Yasuo maybe does not agree, he's targeting Karma. He targets her again. She's down to half health. She's down, but GP, can he clutch up all by himself? The second Karma comes through, and the Shadow Clone showing why it's so effective as a power-up.
Yeah, splitting the damage as well, I think, is very important, because for Karma, you could put 2 of the Shadow Clones on one side, but the benefit you get from spreading it on either side is you can try and kill on either side, and also it makes it very difficult to position against as well. Normally you want the Karma to, if you're playing defensively against it, you want to try and put the Mundo there on the huge tank, and it means Karma doesn't spread her damage. And it's very difficult to position when there's 2 Karmas. There's one on one side of the board and one on the other side as well. So great positioning there for the Karma, able to beat the Gangplank.
My biggest concern here is Armatruck looking great. Congrats to you. You pulled it off. You're looking like you're in a snowballing position with Crystal Gambit. Clemu, 3-loss streak. Yoroi, dicey game plan with the Manazane IE combo.
Yeah.
Bensak, 5-loss streak. What are these other players going to do in stage 5 to stabilize and to be the support squad that Armatruck needs to make this a Fnatic victory and to force a game 3?
It looks like for Clemu is going to be going to level 9. Doesn't even have the Yuumi 2 yet, but realizes that if he potentially goes to level 9, has that Seraphine on the board already, so can get that 5 Prodigy online to try and help this Yuumi cast some more. Does have the Poppy 2-star on the front line because hasn't hit the Leona either, so we talk about trying to hit some of these forecasts and guarantee hitting these forecasts like YYDM has. As for Clemu, hasn't hit his forecast 2-star, so it's a very, very tough spot.
16 HP, could be 1 life if it's a blowout. He is facing Bensak, who is on a 5-loss streak as well. He was, of course, the GP player. Maybe Poppy can do enough here with the Yasuo being stunned at the beginning and potentially at the end, but no, all of a sudden the Yasuo and GP both clawing their way towards the Yuumi in the back line. It could be a 16 HP loss with how lopsided this was.
Team kill. No.
1 HP and a dream. 15 HP was dealt there, so
Armatruck also lose? Armatruck lost as well. That's really surprising. I mean, he does have 50 gold, but Armatruck now also on 1 HP.
He is getting loot here. It's just a component anvil.
This is looking really tough as
well. He has to go 9 here. It's barely going to be enough to roll. Marvin might be the ad. Just completely ignores it.
Yeah, I mean, not finding the Ash 2 is really unfortunate here. I mean, not even finding the Twisted Fate 2 as well. Uses one of the lesser duplicators to try and get more gold. That's a Twisted Fate, but you have nothing else to really...
You sell the Jace. You sell the Jace here.
Oh, you just sell the Ash. I'm not too sure what he's sold there.
Oh, he's playing 4 heavyweight, that's why. TF2, Poppy 2, are they going to be enough as the de facto carries in this Crystal Gambit setup for Armatruck? He's facing the strongest comp in the game right now, protagonist Kennen. 9,000 volts. Is it going to be stronger than a 7 Crystal Gambit? Double cash out. TF is scaling. This is where he shines at 2-star. Kennen is brought in by the Indomitable. Swain says, come here. Little zapper, and big win for Armatruck.
Clemu, though, unfortunately dropping in 8th place. So Armatruck, as you mentioned, in a strong spot, but we know that Armatruck can be one of these win-outs now. You know, with him defeating the Kennen, we thought Kennen could also be a win-out as well. But I think with Armatruck, if he can keep on getting these extra items, the extra artifact anvils as well, the Indomitable doing a great job to help out there. But other than that, you know, the other Fnatic members need to make sure they all don't go bottom 4, which can be a strong possibility.
And for Clemu, I mean, upper mobility, I just don't think there's a strong and stable enough Fast 9 game plan in this meta.
Yeah.
Especially not Yuumi to play for upper mobility, where once you get to 9 and you hit, you're stable. It's not the case. It's sometimes for Yuumi. And we see there the 8th place for Clemu.
Bensak, though.
Bensak has hits, it looks like, despite the GP3 hold. Ironball could be taken down and will be taken down. This is a very big win for Fnatic, especially if Ironball gets sent 7th and no one else from Fnatic dies. Does Armatruck win his fight? That is the big question here. Ironball is down.
Armatruck? Looks like he lived.
Is winning.
And YYDM.
Win streak now for Armatruck, and it matters so much because Armatruck, the more fights he wins, every amount of loot he's getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and it's more and more likely he will win the entire lobby outside of something absolutely crazy happening from Flash Wolves.
I think the difficulty now is, though, that I believe, you know, it's going to be a situation when Armatruck might come up against one of the other Fnatic members. I can't remember exactly who it was, who was right above him, but is also down to 1 life as well. So eventually, them 2 players are going to come up against each other as well. So I think it's going to come down to, you know, what that's going to be. I mean, he's still got the GP3 on the bench, by the way. Is that even worth it at this point? Like, he's already hit GP3, so what's the plan here? What?
Recombobulator, 4th augment. Stage 6-2. Heard it here first. I think for me right now, the scary position is Yoroi. he has to really try and dodge the bottom 4. He's on 8 HP, he's on 1 life.
That's the play I was talking
so
about.
So is YYDM.
It's down to
Bensack has
Armor Truck as well.
enough HP to buffer and maybe finish 3rd, which is maybe enough if Armor Truck wins the entire thing.
Oh, this is a big fight.
YYDM versus Yoroi, direct matchup between 2 teams. Both players on 1 life. Caitlyn, can she sneak in a shot onto the Karma? She's aiming, but
Gwen's
there's a unit in the way. Get down, Mr. President. Gwen tanks the hit with Edge of Night. Caitlyn is now down, and Yoroi is also going to be going down. Only the Cassante left alive. And YYDM clutches it up for Flash Wolves.
And it could be over right now if Armor Truck also loses, but it seems like Armor Truck is still alive as well. So this game is still pretty open. We can see that Armor Truck can still have the possibility of winning out this lobby. Bensack as well also has a possibility of winning out this lobby with the GP3 as well. So Fnatic still have a chance. I think it's all going to come down to matchmaking now, because if Bensack goes against Armor Truck, you have to make sure that Armor Truck doesn't win by too much, because then Bensack's also going to go down to 1 life as well. So it comes down to
We've had situations where
yeah.
the Giga Strong player, like Armor Truck with Crystal Gambit, sacks a little bit too much and dies.
Ooh.
So we have to hope that doesn't happen. You can't kind of go too far onto the Razor's edge. We are seeing Armor Truck versus Kebabao now. Kennen yet again versus Crystal Gambit. Can Armor Truck deal as many big blows as possible? That is the big thing. Deal massive amounts of player damage to all of Flash Wolves to try and guarantee Bensack and him finish in the top 4.
Looks like Armor Truck is doing enough for now as well. He's able to get a Luchador +1 as well. So if he can get a potential Brom 2 on the board as well. Not enough damage though, unfortunately, for Armor Truck.
It's impossible. I think it was too healthy.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was pretty close to be fair.
It would have to be like Aurora bringing in units from last set to deal more damage for that to come.
It was pretty close. I mean, look at the HP totals now. You know, when we're going into stage 6 now, YYDM 3 HP, Armor Truck on a 4 win streak, but it's down to 4 HP, Kebabao on 5 HP, Bensack on 5 HP. We could have a situation where both the Fnatic players and both the Flash Wolves players come up against each other, and it might come down to something else as...
It might come down to Armor Truck having to identify exactly what items he can remove if he faces Bensack to knock him out with as little HP as possible, so that he finishes in... Oh, never mind. Okay, Kebabao's down already. It is going to be a top 4 position for both Bensack and for Armor Truck. If Armor Truck is expected to be the victor here, it should be just a top 3 that's required for Bensack as a GP player.
Could be really important now. The Gwen 2 online is really important. Extra items and trying to find something. I think the problem with YYDM at the moment is the front line is a little lacking, as Haruru actually benching all of his units and does come up against YYDM as well, so it does mean that he can do it. Whereas on the other side is Bensack versus Armor Truck, so one of the Fnatic players are going down.
No items have been removed here. Is GP strong enough to get enough unit kills? It looks like it's a very big sweep here. Bensack will be going down in that 4th place position.
This is a really tough position for both these players at the moment. Of course, Armor Truck's still on that win streak as well. Gonna have that possibility of maybe trying to win out. We have artifacts across the board. We have a bunch of prismatics just warping the lobby so much as well to see what the possibility is. But for Katarina, I mean, the GP at least has been sold now, which is a great sign. So GP can really can go now because there's nothing else to worry about. But yeah, could come down to this.
What a strange setup holding that GP3 as a Katarina reroll player in the end. We're looking at YYDM, who has survived. He was a player coming to stage 4 with 30 HP. He's made it all the way into this later part of the stage 5. Facing off against Haruru now. Hitting the Radiant Rabadons, hitting that Shadow Clone was so relevant. We're seeing another big win for YYDM, guaranteeing a spot in the top 2 now.
Armor Truck as well, though, should be also winning. So I think it's going to come down to Armor Truck and YYDM. Actually, no, it's a double kill. YYDM, wait, he lost to a ghost, did he?
Armor Truck goes down with 7 Crystal Gambit to this Karma board, which I cannot imagine how that must have happened, how the damage must have come through from Karma to burst one side of the front line. Maybe the front line was not strong enough, but Flash Wolves, another dominant win. Armor Truck yet again, just a few steps away from getting that win that Fnatic needed so much. A dominant 2-0 win in this Group C elimination match series in this day 2. Very clean play from Flash Wolves, very dominant on all of the conditional comps. We're seeing Ken and Hero augment